10 arena champions for arena. Yeah, let's just get right into it. So, number 10 is gonna be Hegemon. Hegemon, his kit is attacks 2 enemies at random. His kit has 35% chance of placing 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Not too bad. Attacks 4 enemies. This is where he's really good for. Attacks 4 enemies. Places 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 50% chance of placing a block cooldown skills debuff for 2 turns. Not too bad there. That's pretty good. Always goes first in each round. If multiple Hegemons are in battle, the Hegemon with the highest speed will move first, followed by the next highest, and so on. That's what makes him really good. Because, like, if let's say you have 3 Hegemons and an Arbiter or something like that, pretty much you're just doing the A2 over and over and over again. So, pretty good, really good. He would be higher, but since he doesn't have block revive anymore, he's not as good as he used to be. But he blocks revive, but it's not every time. But he's still a great champion. He still hits really hard. So his kit is A1. Attacks one enemy has 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 25% chance of granting an extra turn. That's pretty good. Attack Vitality Plunder. Attacks one enemy, decreases the target's max HP by 20%, then adds the HP to the champion's own max HP. Cannot decrease a single champion's max HP by more than 60% in one battle. Cannot increase this champion's max HP more than 60,000. Does not decrease boss's max HP. This champion's max HP will be increased by 15,000 when the skill used against bosses. Jeez, that's a long move. Okay. So that's the A2. God. Attacks one enemy will ignore 60% of the target's defense. Will also ignore unkillable and block damage. Enemies killed by the skill cannot be revived in the champion if the champion has gained maximum amount of HP from the Vitality Plunder skill. Grants an extra turn if this skill kills an enemy. It's actually kind of a confusing champion, but he's still one of the best in the game. His passive will decrease damage from enemy hits, so that incoming damage from any single hit will not exceed 50% of the champion's max HP. Grants an extra turn if the damage reduction occurs. Does not work against bosses. Decreases damage taken from bosses by 15%. Decreases damage taken from bosses by 30% if Secret Lost Bride is on the same team. A lot of words and sentences and stuff, but that's him, Rotos. Number 8 has to be Bigon. I know some of you might not agree with me on number 8 being Bigon. I love Bigon. Even though I don't have him, I still think he's still great. So his A1 attacks one enemy, attacks all enemies 1 time if the first attack is critical. Pretty good. That's pretty good right there. A2 attacks one enemies, has 30% chance of placing stun debuff for 1 turn. Also has a 50% chance of placing a 50% decreased accuracy debuff for 2 turns. The decreased accuracy is but the stun is what makes that move really good. And A3 7-turn cooldown is kind of slow. Goes up to 5-turn cooldown when booked. Attacks all enemies 2 times, decreases the turn meter by 25%. It has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Very good. And his aura increases ally accuracy in dungeons by 90. Pretty high increase in dungeons, but that's not what you really need for dungeons anyway. So, number 7 has to be Foley, because he just hits so hard. Like he's just really good. So it's A1. Attacks one enemy 4 times, has 20% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Goes up to 25 when booked. It's A2. Attacks 4 times at random. Each has a 35% chance of placing a leash debuff. That's a pretty good move. That's pretty good. And then his A3. Attacks all enemies, decreases their turn meter by 50%, and then attacks the targeted enemy. Enemies killed by this cannot be revived. Very good move right there. Very good move. And then his passive heals the champion by 20% of the max HP and boosts the turn meter by 50% whenever an enemy places a stun, freeze, sleep, or provoke on this champion. Immediately removes all stun, freeze, sleep, and provoke debuffs from this champion. Great champion. Number 6 is gonna be Mashal. Mashal is so annoying and good. Like, I really wish I had him. But his A1. Attacks one enemy, heals the champion by 30% of the damage inflicted. Will then attack all enemies under leech debuffs. That's really good. That's pretty good. And then A2 places a 30% increased speed and 30% increased crit damage buff on all allies. Places a true fear and leech debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Grants an extra turn. That's an insane move. Very good move. And then attacks one enemy, has an 80% chance of stealing all buffs from that target before attacking. Places 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. Also places a 15% continuous heal buffs on this champion for 3 turns. Damage increases by 50% against targets that have no buffs. Great. That's insane. That really is insane. And then his aura increases ally attack and Duchess by 34%. That he is incredible. And that was so number 5 is gonna be Skull Crown. Skull Crown, I mean, I feel like a ton of people use her for arena. Like her main place is in arena. So her A1 attacks all enemies, placing an extra hit if the target has more than 50% HP. Decent. This is where she's really good from. Attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of placing a 25% weakened debuff for 2 turns, and this attack hits super hard. And I know it from experience, because I have her. That attack hits really hard. And then her passive places an unkillable buff on his champion for 1 turn every time the HP drops below 20%. That's actually pretty good. It goes down to a 4-turn cooldown. And then her other passive revives the champion with 30% HP only when Shanisha is on the same team. I mean, that's actually not too bad because Shanisha is really good. So, and then her aura increases ally speed in the arena by 23%. It feels like all she's made for is arena. Like, she's insane for arena. And number 5 is gonna be Duchess. So Duchess is so good. I really like all the legendary. I think almost every single character in this list I want, except for Skull Crown because I already have him. But I'm just like, seriously. All right. So A1. Attacks one enemy 2 times, then places a shield buff equal to 10% of the champion's max HP for 2 turns. This champion and the other ally with lowest HP. Damage based off defense. Surprising. Okay, A2. Places a 50% increased attack buff on and block buff on all allies for 2 turns. Places a perfect veil buff on all allies except the champion for 2 turns. Insane. That's just an insane move right there. That's crazy good. And then her A3 revives all dead allies with 70% HP. Places a veil buff on all allies except the champion for 1 turn. Places a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. It's a great move. It's a great move. Just a great move. And her passive decreases the damage taken by all allies from AoE attacks by 25%, 15% from bosses. I mean, that's pretty good. Because I'm talking about arena right now, so her taking the AoE hits by 25% less in arena is pretty good. That's pretty good. And her aura, increase ally speed in all battles by 90%. That's a pretty good aura, actually, because it's all battles. Normally, it's not all battles or speed, so that's pretty good. And number 3. Number 3 is going to be Arbiter. So Arbiter attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a 25% weakened debuff for 2 turns. That's a pretty good move. Attacks all enemies 1 time, has 75% chance of decreasing the duration of all enemies' buffs by 1 turn. That's a good move. Because it's literally, if they have 1 turn left on their buff, you can just remove it. And then her A3 fills the turn meter of all allies by 30% and places a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. Heals all allies by 25% of their max HP if they have less than 50% HP. It goes down to a 3-turn cooldown. Then her A4 revives all dead allies to 35% HP, then fills the turn meter of all allies by 20%. Grants an extra turn to this champion if an ally was successfully revived. Increases ally speed in arena by 30%. You could basically use Arbiter for everything, but arena's her main thing. Arena's just her main thing. I mean, when you get to like end game, all you see is Arbiter. Like literally, all you see is Arbiter. So, she's probably one of the best. Definitely one of the best. Number 2, CV the Lost Bride. Man, they debuffed her, but she's still incredibly good. So that's her A1. Tactical enemy has an 80% chance of placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn if the target's turn meter is equal to or above 50%. This debuff cannot be resisted. Heals all allies by 5% of their max HP if the target turn meter is below 50%. That's a pretty good move. Her A2. Places a block debuff buff on all allies for 1 turn, then fills the turn meters of all allies by 10%, and then places a 60% increased defense buff on all allies, and 30% increased speed on all allies for 2 turns. Goes down to a 4-turn cooldown. That's a short cooldown for that type of move. That's pretty good. And then her A3, she does not lead a lot of books compared to most legendaries. Revives a single ally by 55% HP and full turn meter. Places a 50% increased attack buff on and a 30% increased crit rate buff on that ally for 2 turns. Goes down to 4-turn cooldown too. Two 4-turn cooldowns. It's weird. Her passive heals each ally by 10% of their max HP, and at the start of their turn, has a 40% chance of removing freeze and fear debuffs from each ally to start their turn. Removes all debuffs from Rotos, the Lost Room, at the start of their turn if they are not on the same team. What? Rotos, the Lost Room, at the start of their turn if they're not on the same team. Oh, if they are on the same team. My bad. I'd rather wrong. If they are on the same team. Okay. Okay, her aura, increase ally resist in all battles by 80. That's not that great of an aura. But I guess any aura is not too bad, but she's incredible. Incredible. And she's not even number 1. Madam Series. It has to be Madam Series. Madam Series is, without a doubt, the best arena character. But her A1 attacks while enemy has 20% chance of placing a fear debuff for 1 turn. This chance increases to 30% if the target is under 1 debuff. This chance increases to 45% if the target is under 2 or more debuffs. That's actually that's a decent move. I mean, fear is not terrible. And then her A2, attack on enemies has 40% chance of stealing 1 random buff from each target. Places a block debuff buff on all allies for 2 turns if any buff is stolen. Places a true fear debuff for 1 turn on all enemies who have buff stolen. That's pretty good, actually. And then this is what makes her so good. Removes all buffs from enemies. Places a 50% decrease attack and debuff and 60% decrease defense debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Goes down to a 4-turn cooldown. Incredible. Just incredible. She's so good. Incredible. And her passive places a shield buff on the champion equal to 10% of the max HP at the start of each turn. When attacked while under a shield buff, has a 35% chance of placing a fear debuff on the attackers for 1 turn. So that'll be it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one.